Dal. Her family was split, but the voters in Uttar Pradesh seem to have backed the BJP Apna Dal alliance very strongly, and a 16% gap in favor of the BJP among women voters. 32% women voting for the SP, 48% for the BJP alliance. There hasn't ever been such a big gap among women voters, and that could be one of the biggest takeaways from this election. Anupriya Patel. Ma'am, can you hear me, Anupriya ji?
Yes,
Anupriya ji, can you hear me? Okay, so my question is, first and foremost, congratulations.
Yes.
As far as these exit polls are concerned, your alliance seems to be winning and winning in style. Are these numbers bigger than what you would have expected, Anupriya ji?
Well, I have always maintained since the very beginning of this election that NDA will retain power and we will make a grand comeback in Uttar Pradesh, and now your exit polls are talking the same language. So I am not surprised, maybe the others would be, but I am not surprised. I was always confident we are coming back, and now we see the same happening.
And we're talking about the significance of women voters. Amongst women, 16% more women have voted for the BJP than they did for the Samajwadi Party. Amongst men, the gap is only 4%. But amongst women, the gap is much bigger, suggesting that the BJP alliance is able to pull women disproportionately to their ticket.
Certainly, this is not without a reason. A lot of our schemes were centered around women. You know, the toilets that we constructed, they have gone a long way in addressing the basic needs of women voter in the rural areas or the urban areas. Then the gas cylinders under the Ujjwala scheme, which reach the women in the households. Also, the housing facilities that we provided to the common man, the common voter. The ownership is in the name of a woman. So women voters have seen that the government has a pro-women approach in so far as the pro-poor welfare schemes are concerned, and which I think is the biggest force that has been instrumental in creating or building more faith in the minds of the women voter towards the NDA-led government. And which is why we see such a big gap in the percentage of women voters turning out to vote in favor of the NDA alliance candidates.
Thank you very much, Anupriya ji, for joining us. Also, Sanjay.
Can I ask Anupriya one question? Anupriya ji, your old friend Rajdeep Sardesai here.
Yes.
You tell me, Anupriya ji, you know,
Yes,
your party,
Rajdeep
the Kurmi voter, you know, there was so much of talk about the non-Yadav voters. That 35% was going to be critical to this election. The BJP was seen to have the upper caste with them. The SP had Muslim Yadav solidly behind them. 35% non-Yadav voter OBCs, including Kurmis, would make a difference. Was this election at the end of the day fought along those lines, or are you saying that issues like Ration, Shasan, Ujjwala, they go beyond these caste lines if these numbers are right? If, it's a big if these numbers are right. Because Preeti is saying, har constituency mein takkar hai.
Look now, to be... No, both factors are equally important. Look, you cannot deny caste equations in the poll battle of Uttar Pradesh or any other state for that matter. Caste equations and caste arithmetic is important, and every party tries to, you know, create that balance in the caste arithmetic, and the OBC voter in Uttar Pradesh constitute a sizable population, more than 50%. So you cannot ignore such a big chunk of population, because eventually your voter is coming from that population only. So definitely it makes a difference. And then insofar as the pro-poor welfare schemes are concerned, because the schemes have reached people without discrimination, and because the sizable and the considerable population is made up of the OBC voters, so definitely the OBCs, a large chunk would have benefited out of these schemes, which we are saying has created a faith in their heart towards the NDA-led alliance. So everything put together, we see this, this whole election turning in favor of NDA, and NDA coming back.
I have a bit of
making a grand
concern.
comeback in Uttar Pradesh.
This is largely on behalf of everyone who's watching, because so far there was an election cap on price rise when it comes to petroleum products. We're just hearing that starting 6 a.m. tomorrow, CNG prices in Delhi likely to go up by about 50 paisa per kg to 1 kilo per kilogram. That's just CNG. This is likely to happen in diesel, petrol. So basically that election moratorium on increase in petroleum prices seems to be over, Anupriya ji.
Ask about free ration. Will it continue?
Honestly, I'm really not aware of this development, so I wouldn't really know what to react to this. But no decision was ever made keeping elections in mind. We have a pure intent to serve the common voter of Uttar Pradesh or the whole country insofar as our government of India is concerned. And I would really not like to comment on this.
But that's outside the UP syllabus.
No, but Anupriya ji, let me be honest. When you were on the ground, we saw Mehengai was an issue. Berozgari was a big issue among the young people. Avara Pashu, stray cattle, huge issue. People are angry, were disillusioned over these issues. Are you telling me that ration and Shasan were enough to overcome that? You cannot tell me that people on the ground were not disillusioned. We met a number of young people saying, Naukri hi nahi hai.
Okay, I have two things to say. Stray cattle menace, yes, it does exist in UP. Our government tried to address this menace. We tried to construct Gau Ashray Sthal, but I would still admit that efforts were not sufficient, and which is why Prime Minister, while addressing a rally, said that in the next regime we will do more to curb this menace. And when we spoke to the voter on ground, they did come up with this concern, but we also told them that we will do more. And they were in favor of the NDA alliance because law and order was such a big issue that the voter had big fear in their heart that if the Samajwadi Party led alliance comes to power in Uttar Pradesh, then maybe the stray cattle menace is a smaller one, but a bad law and order would be too difficult a menace to handle. So that kind of became a bigger issue, and this became a smaller issue. Nevertheless, I would still say that yes, the problem still exists and we need to address it, and we will try. We will leave no stone unturned to address this problem. It is a serious
despite this
issue which
sweep
persists.
or seeming sweep,
and yes,
there
you
is a
also
big
raised
cause
an
of
issue about
concern
employment generation.
from the BJP's perspective, and that is this. Amongst voters who are in the age group of 18 to 25, the BJP leads the Samajwadi Party by only 1%, 41 versus 40. 40 for the SP, BJP 41. Anywhere else, the gap is 14%, 13%, 12% and 14%. But when it comes to that young and the restless voter, 18 to 25, the gap, ma'am, is only 1%. And that, despite this jubilation, is the one question mark that hangs over this result, Anupriya ji.
Well, okay, if that is the analysis, I would say that since you had raised the issue of employment generation also, we did face COVID pandemic, which kind of disrupted the whole economic scenario. And yes, this was a serious issue, but we also were successful in explaining to the young aspirational voter that we are, employment generation is high on our agenda, and we have created a roadmap to have better employment generation in our next regime. The ease of doing business ranking has improved. We have been able to create massive infrastructure across the state, whether it is roads or railways or waterways, airports, electricity, everything has improved, and we have also an improved law and order situation. So we have paved way for getting larger investments, and there are big organizations, big investors who are showing interest in UP. They see now UP as a preferable destination for investment. So maybe in our next regime, we will be able, we have decided, set a target of getting 10 lakh crores of investment. So that is a kind of argument we have put forth to the young voter, and I think to a great extent we have been able to convince them.
Okay, we'll leave it over there. Anupriya Patel, thank you for joining us. Sanjay Kumar, how do you explain that